and good morning. It's a Saturday special with Kevin Oliphant Smith. Good day to you, sir. How are you?
Hello, Jed. Good afternoon now.
Well,
I was going to say good morning.
This is a new one. We're going to call it the Manx Quarter, and it's a quick fire 15 minutes just to give the candidates a chance to set the stall out for the election, which was going to be in about 4 or 5 weeks' time, and now it's been bounced into July. Are you happy with that or what?
I mean, under the circumstances, I think it's the right thing to do for the safety of the island's community with COVID. But one thing I'm a little bit worried about, and I've spoke to other elected councillors about this who are going to be standing again, they're equally concerned that when they've moved it to the 22nd of July, but now what everyone's pretty much saying is it's going to be more like a by-election, and we're not going to have enough time to get out and knock on doors and see people.
Well, there's a lot of talk of postponing elections, and yet the USA managed to hold a presidential election involving hundreds of millions only a short time ago. But we'll just park that one to one side. So Douglas Council, it's quite an eventful time for them. They're reducing the amount of councillors from 18 to 12. So just put it in perspective, which area of Douglas are you going to be standing in and fighting for a seat?
Yeah, so it's quite exciting actually because it's the first time we've ever done it. They voted, I think it was 2016, 2017, to reduce the number down to 12. So previously they had different wards in the St George's Ward, Victoria Ward, Murray Ward, Derby Ward, and now they've reduced that number and they're going off the same constituencies as the general elections for the Keys. So north, south, east, west, Douglas. So yeah, I'm going to be standing for the east of Douglas.
So hang on, we're geographically where is that? The east? Go
on. So that's pretty much say like the whole of the promenade, literally from one end to the other, including Lord Street up that way, all through the town and moving up the way, in Douglas.
Well,
it's a very, very large area.
Cool, blimey. Isn't that the focus of not just Douglas but the island of the promenade? You're going to be canvassing in areas where you're going to have a lot of people who are slightly peed off, a lot of businesses. What sort of comfort can you give them as a Douglas councillor? How are you going to fight their corner?
I mean, it's interesting because I've canvassed that area before, so a lot of the doors I'll be knocking on, I've already spoken to some of those people previously. In my previous election, so I've already got a good feel for the area and the problems within the area I live. I've always lived pretty much. This is the place I was born as well, Douglas East. So I know an awful lot of people in the area. But I've got family and friends who've got businesses on.
They're going to need a massive amount of support, though, aren't they? Because for 2 years, you can think of restaurants, hotels, shops, and I always think about that hairdresser, the well-known hairdresser who we know is at Castlemona Shops, and the diatribe, the outrage that he delivered on social media only a few weeks ago, I found astonishing. I was, because we know who it is. He's a guy who's got respect and deportment, and he's a successful business person. And he must reflect the feelings of so many in that area. But as a Douglas councillor, what support or what can we do to try and revitalise that area? Or will a brand new shiny prom cure it all?
I mean, I find again from experience, being an elected councillor, I mean, on paper, there is only so much responsibility the Douglas Council has, of course. And as some of your previous people have said on interviews, a lot of the issues when you're knocking on doors do tend to be more national issues. But again, as a councillor, you're also there to try and put that forward, not necessarily to the council, but pass that over to the MHKs and fight those residents' corners for them. And that's very much what I was doing back in 2016.
And what a lot of people perhaps don't understand, no, maybe I'm not phrasing that right really, but there's an awareness of the responsibilities of a council member in that you're actually in charge of a budget that's going to be around about £10 million. And that's between 12 of you. So you've got these decisions to make. So I had a quick flick through the site and I'm hearing that there's a lot of work on changing street lights to LED, and that's going to save a lot of money. That the vehicles are getting changed to more fuel efficient, energy efficient. So these are good things that are in progress already. I mean, you must have some feelings about green issues.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a good thing. It is gonna take a long time to see any savings from that. That's going to be more down the line that we'll start to see savings. So that initial outlay, it will take time to recoup that. Um, the problem is as well, I feel that yeah, we've got one of the largest budgets in Douglas as a local authority on the island, and we've got a lot more responsibility. But the problem is that is passed on to the ratepayers of Douglas. And we all know that Douglas is used by everyone on the island. But we take the brunt of it, and we have seen, over the last 5 years, rate increases go crazy, whereas other areas of the island have managed to keep theirs at no increases in some cases.
But some would say that there's an elaborate master plan to overcome that by making Douglas impossible to travel to, unbearable to shop in. You can't even park. The whole prom is turned upside down. So I'm only joking there, but I think a lot of people around the island would have a view of the all island rate. But there's no doubt about it. Douglas, they are taking quite a burden because it's our main area for business and work.
Yeah, I mean, we've just had another rate increase this year, and there's a lot of people, of course, in Douglas in public sector housing as well. That has a knock-on effect on their rents as well. So again, those are the people that they're struggling already, and they're bearing the brunt of any increases. So I think there's a big unbalance there of people at the top paying very, very little, and people at the bottom paying a bigger percentage than they should be. So it needs to be more even.
And that gap is just getting wider and wider because we've actually got some people describe it as a housing crisis, but in real terms, it isn't. It's a shortage of affordable housing for not just young people but everyone. So should Douglas Council, should they be looking at broadening their housing offering?
Yeah, I mean, there's a huge problem there. So there's been a lack of added on new properties being built within the Douglas housing stock, but equally, a lot of their stock is really, really run down and very poorly built as well. I mean, even some of the newer ones that were built sort of 6, 7 years ago now, up Pull Rose area was probably the more recent one.
Yeah.
Even some of those, I've been invited into many of those homes and shown problems, and they were just rushed, and the contracts were just given out to the lowest bidder, of course, without much investigation going into what those contractors are actually doing. They've written a blank check, so to speak, and then they're just left to carry on. There's no checks and balances done, and I've seen some horrendous work done to those houses over the years.
So, as a Douglas councillor, you'd be looking very closely at procurement and the procedures around that everything's fair and true and upright. And I think as a councillor to look at that and to sample what is going on, you've actually got to go beyond sitting in the council chamber. You've actually got to go in your own time to actually visit what's happening on the coalface. I take it that's your style, is it?
Yeah, absolutely. You need to be speaking to the people on the ground. You need to be going into people's houses. And I mean, I feel like I've probably got so much experience of doing that now. I've stood for 5 elections, and there's not many doors I haven't knocked on around Douglas over the years. And it's funny because no matter which part of Douglas you go to, it's the same problems pretty much.
Well, there's no doubt about it. The style of campaigning has changed over the years, and I think with the pandemic, it'll change even further. So, how much importance is digital media for what you want to do?
I think it's a good idea if it's used properly, what I've found is, to be honest with you, the majority of people who do tend to communicate with you via social media, a very, very small percentage of those people actually vote for a start. I mean, I've had people messaging me over the years saying, I'm going to vote for you next week. And I'm going, oh, great. Where do you live? And I'll come and see you. Ramsey.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. That's what I'm saying. There's a huge amount of voters that don't have social media, they don't have access to the internet. And you need to go and knock on those doors. And I think candidates need to be given enough time to do that.
The Douglas area has been famed for having low turnouts. I think this year that could be different. Would you agree? Do you think there's going to be more of an interest in who is representing the views of the electorate? Do you think there'll be a greater turnout?
I mean, I think there's going to be a greater turnout of candidates, because there's a lot of people that are sort of fed up of sitting back on the sidelines. They want to be involved more, which is great. With the voting, I'm unsure about that, because there's an awful lot of people that aren't interested anymore. They've seen members come and go, make their promises, and history repeat itself, and they just think, you know what, why bother voting? Nothing's going to change. And I completely understand that, because that's exactly how I used to think.
But I think it's fair to say that the last election was 4 years ago, 5 years ago, and we've had the odd by-election. But since then, the world has changed, and there's quite an online community that's politically driven and passionate about what's happening in the Isle of Man society, and people express their views. I actually think and hope that more people will take an interest, because they've probably realised that ranting and raving on the various sites that we love and that do provide a lot of speculation and gossip and what have you, maybe some people think, you know what, I'm actually wasting my time doing this, and step up and get involved. And it could be that by September or by July we could have some real serious, super serious things to deal with.
Yeah, I mean, the council especially has changed so much when I look at it from 2016 when I stood to now. It's very, very different. We've got a lot of sort of fresh blood in there. We've got a lot of new members in there now, and I think compared to the previous election before 2016, and I think going forward this year we're going to get even more new members, and I think you're going to see a big change in the council. And I can already see that. There's people in there now that, I mean, when I originally got elected in 2016, I was the youngest in there. Everyone else was pretty much double my age. So, and I very much got treated like a child when I was in there as well. I wasn't respected at all, and it was very, very difficult to fight against the old guard, so to speak.
Well, you've hit the nail on the head, and times have changed. You've got the likes of Andrew Bentley, Sam Hamer, and Devon Watson, and I can't for the life of me remember some of the other progressive ones. But
there's got Paul Corning in there too.
Yeah, so I'm just speaking about the ones that seem to pop up on the social media radar. That's what I'm referring to, and they seem to have made an impact and lower the average age and be more representative. So that has got to be a good thing, because the old guard were responsible for old problems. I think that's fair to say.
Yeah, exactly. And change was definitely what was needed, and we're starting to see that now. And I personally feel like since more younger people have got in there, they do seem to have a little bit more passion and be a bit more outspoken. And I personally feel a lot more represented by those people than I previously did by the other members. And I've met with some of the currently elected councillors in there recently, and I feel like, yeah, straight away I thought, God, I could work with you. Yeah, absolutely.
That's good. That is good. Now we're just coming down to the final 30 seconds. So could you just leave us with a parting shot about your campaign, why we should vote for you, and what your vision is?
That's probably going to take more than 15 seconds. But,
well, you can go on it. You can go over a bit. Let's not cut it too early.
I mean, I think with me, you get what you say. I'm not someone who is going to say whatever it takes just to get voted. You know, this is what I am. You're going to get someone who's going to come around, be on your doorstep, be in communication constantly with people, and push forward any issues that are causing Douglas resident problems, businesses and residents alike. You know, I specifically decided not to stand for the keys because, unfortunately, I do feel like there's going to be a lot of candidates chasing that pay packet for the keys. And I don't want to be tarnished with that brush. I don't want to be going in there and being paid that kind of salary that they've just increased their own salary recently. I think it's immoral, and I personally couldn't work and receive that kind of money. It's ridiculous, especially when so many people in our community are struggling at the moment.
Well, I think we can agree that the Manx electorate, the Manx public, are quite astute, and this time they'll be able to see right through that. So it's been lovely to speak with you, Kevin. This video will be kept on YouTube. You can comment, you can subscribe, and I'm sure at some point we'll connect again when we can find out what happened after the circuit breaker lockdown and what people were saying on the doorsteps to you. But for this moment, we'll say adios.
Thank you very much.